Welcome back. All right. So, how's everyone doing? Hopefully, you're making some progress on whatever it is that you're working on. And the sun is like coming out super bright here in Orlando, Florida. I'm actually, see that there? That's the side project that I'm working on right there. Yeah. See, I code everything on a Chromebook. And so I just got this new, like, it's like a shell of a laptop, I guess. There's like no hard drive or anything, but there's a screen, there's a battery, and there's ports to hook up to. So you can use it as like a secondary monitor. And so what I bought it for is because I recently purchased the I got the Galaxy Z Fold 3. Yes, from Samsung, and it's pretty dope. And what it has on it is when you plug in, like when you plug it into a monitor or what have you, it has DeX on there, which is kind of like a desktop like version of the OS, the Android on there. So it's kind of like my Chromebook. So I'm thinking with I could plug in this. And this is what I've done a little bit too. Plug this in my phone into that, and then I'll be able to have like a full keyboard and trackpad and everything. And it's pretty good. I actually like edited some video on it or what have you, like just like short clips of stuff. And so I'm looking forward to being able to do more stuff in the web. And then shout out to DeRose Cannon. They put me on to how to, because on my Chromebook I was able to install Linux, and so that like is a one-click install. It's pretty amazing. And so that's what I use. I install my editors and all that stuff, and I use Linux on my Chromebook to code. And so shout out to DeRose Cannon. They put me on to, because I saw YouTube videos where they were using Linux like with on DeX. And so, but they were like kind of like older. So I asked them like, hey, how would I do it now? And they gave me the list. So one of these days, I'm actually going to go put it on there and see if I can actually code like on there. That would be cool. But we already we spoke previously about how like VS Code is in the browser, even though you can't really run Node in it. But then there's like Stack Blitz, which is also in the browser, which seems pretty cool. So I want to play around with that and maybe like build a project with it or what have you. You need to hear them. So all that to say that the web is an amazing place. And just recently, something that you may not even thought would come to the web came to the web. And so Adobe just had their Adobe Max conference thing. And I saw on Twitter, people were talking about that Photoshop came to the web, which is kind of amazing. So let me bring it up here. So there's an article at web.dev. Shouts to web.dev. Big fan of that site. And it kind of covers all the things that are happening in the web. So it's pretty cool. Share my screen. I'm not going to need any audio. At least I don't think so. Cool. So here's web.dev. I'm going to copy and paste this link so that you can check out the recording of the video on the videos page, and it'll have the link right next to it if you want to check it out for yourself. All right, so it goes Photoshop's journey to the web. So this is kind of interesting. So it kind of goes through saying, hey, over the last 3 years, Chrome has been working to empower web applications that push the boundaries of what's possible in the browser. Cool. And so, however, by using various new standardized web technologies, Adobe has now brought a public beta of Photoshop to the web. Super cool. So the way I think it works, if you have like Creative Cloud, you're able to store like your files into the cloud. And so what I think you could do now is, I haven't done it yet, but you can, let's say you have a Photoshop file in the cloud, in your Creative Cloud. You're able to like open it, and instead of having to download it to your computer to open it in Photoshop, you can now open it in the browser in Photoshop. Seems pretty cool. I think they've got Illustrator also, I think, is like a private beta thing also on the web. So that's pretty cool. All right, here we go. So here some of the so it goes through the story of bringing Photoshop to the web, and they're talking about how the URL is super powerful. Like in Google Docs, not only can you create like a new document, but you can also send a link to a specific document to a person, and then having them be able to open it up and collaborate in real time. So using the URL as like a unique way of being able to open up files and things of that nature and get things done. So that's that. That's pretty cool. So how Photoshop's came to the web, they're just talking about how like previously like the web was only for like documents, but now you can actually do so much more on the web. And so they're talking about Gmail and Spark and Lightroom from Adobe. All right, so here's one of the technologies that helped bring Photoshop to the web. Now, WebAssembly, which I've been kind of looking into, it not seriously, but I kind of know about it. It's pretty dope. And so what that does, there's this well, they call it a tool chain. So the C++ tool chain is Emscripten. So from what I understand, because the web really only understands like, well, besides like bytecode, you know, stuff that it breaks down to, but like HTML, CSS, JavaScript. That's what like browsers understand, right? And I think Photoshop, like its guts are made from like C++. And so being able to turn that C++ into something that the web and browsers can understand, that's where WebAssembly comes in. And so there's a Squoosh. I think Squoosh is like a photo compression app that you can I think it uses WebAssembly like under the hood to be able to, because there's certain file types that the browser doesn't understand. So it uses like WebAssembly to kind of bridge that gap so that the compression can happen. Neither here nor there, but back to the Photoshop. So they're using WebAssembly to transfer the to I guess translate the code that Photoshop is written in, so that the browser and the web can understand it, and it's using Emscripten, which is help with the JavaScript stuff. All right, so that's pretty much what this is talking about. So they have links to Emscripten and all that stuff. So that's Emscripten, and then debugging stuff. You're talking about how to. Because the thing is, since it doesn't really understand, like trying to debug the WebAssembly once it goes from C++ to WebAssembly, so that the browser can understand it. It's kind of different. So now the Chrome team developed full-featured WebAssembly debugging support. So that's cool. So if you're ever looking to port like a desktop application to the web, you may be using WebAssembly, and now they make it easier so that you can use WebAssembly debugging in the browser. It looks like, yeah, this is like the console. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, the DevTools console, nice. So it's in the browser. That's pretty cool. Then, so because the way Photoshop works is like taking files from like storage and putting it in memory and back and forth and all these things. So like they use like, as the user like pans around an image, Photoshop needs to be able to dynamically move data from on disk to in memory. So as an example, when a user is panning around an image. So on other platforms, this is accomplished using usually through memory mapping via mmap, which I've never heard of before. And it's cool. They have links so you can learn more about it. But this hasn't been performantly possible on the web. That is until given private file system access handles were developed and implemented as an origin trial. So what's cool is, what was it? I think it was the VS Code in the browser, where, and I think you've been able to do this before, you're able to access from the web like actual computer files and things. Like you're able to do that through like input elements, but I guess there's like another API where you can do all that. And so you can check it out. They have a link to that. So accessing, from the origin private file system. So yeah, not exactly sure what all that means, but basically able to access files from the from the computer. Cool. And then with Photoshop, being like color accurate is very important. So they talk about how they're using display P3 canvas to display images more accurately in the browser. So that's pretty cool. So that's a whole nother thing that's like new, which is pretty cool. All right. Now here, this is what I'm interested in: web components. And so, so I already spoke about previously, like even in my talks, when I created a web component, I've used Spectrum web components from Adobe to kind of like add some styling to a web component I was creating for like a talk or what have you. And so really cool. And it's built upon the lit library, which I've also used previously to create web components. And so all the different like UI elements. So Photoshop's UI elements come from Adobe's Spectrum web components library, a lightweight, performant implementation of the Adobe design system that works with any framework or no framework at all, because it's a web component. And so they're using that to create like all the different UI elements. So like this little window thing here, or like the drop downs and all that stuff. So it's using their own in-house thing which is built on Lit. And they have links to all this stuff. It's pretty cool. So yeah, and Lit's doing some cool stuff. And so right here, so what's more, the entire Photoshop app is built using Lit-based web components, right? So not necessarily even just the Spectrum web components, but like the entire Photoshop app. And so leaning on the browser's built-in model and component model and shadow DOM encapsulation, which is a big thing. The shadow DOM encapsulation, that's super cool. And Lit is kind of like using that for stuff. It's cool. So you can find out more. The team found it easy to cleanly integrate a few islands. So some parts of it look like it's actually written in React. And so with the shadow DOM encapsulation and stuff, you can actually take that like React code and like insert it into like the sea of all the other web components and the applications. That's what they mean by like island. You know what I mean? So it's like this React code surrounded by all this other stuff in the application. And it can like handle, and it knows what to do like within itself. And that's done like through the shadow DOM encapsulation. So it's like in the shadow realm, you know what I mean, where it's doing its thing. It's cool. It's cool stuff. I don't know. So yeah, if your web components are pretty amazing. So then they talk about what's next for Adobe on the web and all the stuff they have coming up. And so now this is pretty cool. And now I'm wondering, because there's this other online. Oh, by the way, I posted the link to this. Yeah, the link for this article, this blog post will be in the archive page. But also, I'm not sure if people are familiar with Photopea, which is an online like image, we call it editor. And so it does a lot of same kind of stuff. I wonder if can I open? Yeah, see, I can open files right off of my computer here. I've never used Photopea, but it looks like you could open Photoshop files, Illustrator files, XD files, Sketch files, PDF, GIMP files, RAW files, or just any JPEG, PNG, TIFF, gets any sort of image file. And it looks like it gives you like layers and all this stuff, just like Photoshop. So I wonder like how they did it and how, I guess, different. Maybe Photopea is like built from the like using web technologies from the beginning, whereas Photoshop, as an already desktop application, instead of having to rewrite everything from the beginning, using these new technologies, we're able to bring it to the web. And so that's pretty cool. So maybe Photopea played a part in like, oh, maybe we need to get on the web. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, so it's cool to see things like this. And so all this stuff that we just spoke about that brought Photoshop to the web, all these different technologies are being like advanced even more. And when other people see that, like, oh, a big company like Adobe is adopting these things, and I think others will also do the same, and it should really push adoption for everything. Wow, there's like this whole halo glow thing going on. All right, nice. You can tell it's getting like fall, winter time because the sun sets a lot later. And so that's why it's still up there. All right, cool. So again, yeah, I think that's pretty cool. So let me know what y'all think. Did I save the, let me save the photop.com is the other one. So you can kind of check them out. And yeah, so right now, like I said, Adobe on the web is through the Creative Cloud. So it's not like something you can just use. Like you'd have to have, I guess, like a file in the Creative Cloud to open it. Whereas look like Photopea is just on the web for you to check out. So I'm posting a link to that as well. And it's cool to see all like actual applications coming to the web because the web is getting more and more powerful. And I find that awesome. And yeah, cool. So I'm gonna stop screen sharing this. Yeah, so this was the second to last break session. And I'm going to send y'all back to work. We've got one more break session and like another work session to end everything off. But if no one signs up to do a show and tell, we're going to go over a website from a group. Yeah, they're a group. I'm trying to remember which one am I doing. I have like a list of artists to go through. We're going to take a look at their website and listen to some tracks and maybe watch some videos. I don't remember if there's any videos on there, but yeah, we'll find out when we come back. All right. So again, thank y'all for hanging out. I am going to send y'all on your way. And yeah, thanks again. I wish you much productivity. And the traveling music is going to be Nujabes, one of my favorites. And I almost forgot to create a highlight video. Let's see here. All right, let me share this. And featuring Apani B. So Nujabes featuring Apani B. The track is called Thank You. All right, so thanks for hanging out. One more break session, 15 minutes after the hour. And yeah, we'll see what's up. All right, hope you're getting what you want done. I'm actually making a little bit of progress, feeling good about it. And so, yeah, I should hopefully have something to show by the next week or something. So, all right, thanks again, y'all. See you 15 minutes after the hour.
But let me start from the heart. I just want to stay. I thank you all for showing love to me. I appreciate this unique opportunity. I'm gonna rock so hard you never stop supporting me. I'm gonna show you how music is more meaning to life. I thank you all for showing love to me. I appreciate this unique opportunity. I'm gonna rock so hard you never stop supporting me. I'm gonna show you how music is more meaning to life. But let me start from the heart. I just want to stay. I thank you all for showing love to me. I appreciate this unique opportunity. I'm gonna rock so hard you never stop supporting me. I'm gonna show you how music is more meaning to life. I thank you all for showing love to me. I appreciate this unique opportunity.